Baruch Spinoza was a Jew living in the 17th century. His family fled Spain when the Reconquista took place. And I don't know how up you are on your history, but if you remember, the Moors had come in and Islam was in the Iberian Peninsula, except in the northern kingdoms of Castile, Leon, and Navarre. And in the 16th century or 15th century, the Moors were driven out of Spain by these kingdoms who happened to be Catholic. And they gave the Muslims and the Jews a choice. They said, you can either convert, move, or die. So those were your three options if you were a non-Christian living in Spain in the 15th century. Well, by the time we get to the 17th century, Spinoza's family took the option of moving, and they moved to Amsterdam, which was a free thought city, and there was a Jewish community there. And not only did he know the Torah and the Jewish scriptures, but he was also familiar with the New Testament. He was living in a Christian country. They were being tolerant of the Jews. But Spinoza took a very literal reading of the Shema. And if you're familiar with the Shema, it's Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. And he took that literally, like in a pantheistic way, that there is only one thing, and that one thing is God. I'll come back to this in a sec. The philosopher who came before Spinoza, Rene Descartes, had created this problem called Cartesian dualism. And we talked about this if you were with me last year. We talked about this a little, but I'll refresh it, or for those of you that missed it. So Descartes believed there wasn't just one substance in the world like the medieval scholastics, but he believed there were two substances. And he described these as mind and matter. But he believed these substances were so unique that mind could affect mind, but it could not affect matter, and matter could affect matter, but it could not affect mind. Okay, so very interesting. So let me give you an example. So right now, I'm trying to use my mind to affect and change your minds. If I wanted to physically affect any of you, I would have to get off my computer, head down to wherever you all are at, and I would have to physically interact with you. Like if I wanted to physically engage you, I have to use my body or another physical object. If I want to mentally engage you, I use my mind. So if someone makes me angry, I can think all sorts of bad thoughts at them. Or if someone makes me happy, I can think all sorts of happy thoughts at them. But that is not going to affect their bodies. They might like it in their mind. But I can't think hostile thoughts at someone to the point of physical harm. I would have to pick up a physical 2x4 or bat or something to cause physical harm to another physical body. Same thing with my mind. I can use my mind to move other minds with thoughts, but even though I have a pretty powerful mind, I can't use my mind to move physical objects. And I've tried, believe me. I spent a lot of time trying. But here's part of the dilemma. I mean, we do this all the time. We use our minds to move physical bodies. Like, watch this. Raise your right arm. Okay. With a thought, I just raise my arm. Open your fist. That is so freaky. Why can I manipulate this physical body, but I can't manipulate my mug? I have to use my mind to manipulate this physical form to then accomplish other physical tasks. And that is one of the $1 million, well, it's probably more than that now, $20 million philosophical questions if you can never come up with a solution to the mind-body problem. Back to Spinoza, the way he solved the problem was he said, Descartes made a category error. There are not two substances, but the medieval scholastics were correct. There was only one substance. And that one substance is God. And we can talk about God. I'll go back to the slide. We can talk about God in both a spiritual sense or a physical sense, but only one thing is happening. And this is the illustration Spinoza gave. He says, if this is like a timeline and you all begin your day here, and as you travel through the day, we keep coming to these junctions where we see all these different potentialities laid out in front of us. Like, I could have gone to the beach. I could have gone hiking in the woods. I could have worked on the house. I could have prepared for class. I could have just stayed in bed and not done nothing. Those were all like options. But I ended up working on the house and preparing for class. So these 5 potentialities collapsed into 2. And basically what Spinoza is saying is, from a human perspective, this is how we see the world. But from God's perspective, he sees it already collapsed into its actuality. Because what Spinoza is saying is, there may be infinite potentialities, but there's only one actuality. And I found that super helpful. It was, even though he's not a Christian, but he is still working within this theistic framework. And I thought that was a fascinating solution to the problem. He sees it as a perspectival problem. So from human perspective, I would fold it into saying, we have free will from our human perspective. We have real choices with real consequences. But from God's perspective, everything is predetermined. Everything is set from the beginning to the end. There are no variations or offshoots. It is all done before it began. Thoughts or comments on that? Give me some new voices in the class. I'm enjoying you very much, Nathan, but I want to get some more participants in here.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that, what you just said, because you know how what came to mind is like the perception of time. So with the last statement you said, like how everything is like already predetermined, yet and still in life, we do all kind of things that go against the will of God, that goes against what his plan was or is.
Or so we think.
Well, yeah, but I just feel like yet and still that's where the like infiniteness of time comes in, because within that, it's almost like just let them run around until they ultimately figure out their plan is not my plan, and then when they get tired, then they'll come to me so his plan can ultimately, be seen, like go forward. So that's why, because when we were talking earlier, there's a quote that comes to mind from C.S. Lewis that he says, like, I don't understand why we have this waiting period in life where we have our time, which I know in the worldly sense, we have our sense of time, but then God's sense of time is not clearly the same as ours. And in that quote, he's like, I don't know the reason why we wait, but at the end of the day, what we do find when we find what we're looking for, we understand with greater depth of why we had to wait. So usually there's some form of transformation or something that happens within us in that time that's only discovered once we find it. Then we say, this is exactly why I needed to wait. I needed to learn this. I needed to evolve. But at the end of the day, God's will is going to be done. So that's why I'm just feeling like maybe it is just the time,
Yes, thank you, Cindy. Anyone else? Okay, that was the simple one. And I mean, if you want to know more about Spinoza, he's crazy fascinating. Like I said, I got the full lecture that came from is on my Darkwater Hermit YouTube channel.